Go off. Go off. Go off. Go off.
Happy Saturday. Well, as y'all know, my typical shows normally run on Saturdays, but as I started this show, I did not know that I was going to do so many shows like I've been doing, or segments, or whatever they want to call it. But it's the day before Mother's Day, and I really, really felt like there was something that needs to be addressed in our communities, just period, worldwide. And what needs to be addressed is the what I guess you would call dysfunctional or unfit mothers. Mothers who suffer from mental illnesses, mothers who just kind of carry on what they would call generational curses, and they tend to pass that on to their children by neglecting them in some form or fashion. So this is something that that we're going to be talking about today, because there are a lot of mothers out there that are very neglectful to their children, and they're praised on Mother's Day when they really, really shouldn't be praised on Mother's Day, when they really should be getting help, or getting, that's the type of praise they should be getting. They should be being brought to a doctor or a coach or something like that, so that they can work on their issues, because these women have issues, and then they pass it down, like I said, to their children, and their children tend to pass it down to their children, and it goes on and on and on. So today is all about those mothers who have basically hurt their children in some form or fashion. And we're going to be talking about how we can heal, ourselves, and possibly our mothers that are, that have been going through those certain type of issues. I don't know if you've ever seen my book or read my book. I was going to present it to you all to show you, but I actually forgot it. But the book is called Scar Steps to Queenism. And that particular book was speaking about my life, and it was my best-selling book. It spoke about my life and what I went through as a child until I became an adult, and I also have a part 2 to it. But a lot of what I went through as a child was neglect and abuse from my own mother, and I had to grow and I had to heal from that on my own. And a lot of our sisters and brothers out here they haven't even reached that level yet of healing or growth. They're still kind of stuck in that position of hurt and pain, anguish, or whatever, or anger, toward their mothers, because of that lack of love and that neglect and abandonment and so forth. So today, like I said, we're going to address those issues and see how we can fix that problem. And also, I have a guest that's coming on my show, and I know you all see, you've seen the promotion and everything, and her name is Queen Divine Wisdom, and she also shares a very similar story as mine. So we're going to sit here, we're going to build about it, and we're going to figure out how we can make some changes into what's been going on with our mothers and other mothers out there. And I know there's a lot of people that need to, watch the show and need this type of healing, So anyway, welcome to the show, Queen. Peace, sis.
Hey sis, how are you doing today?
I'm great, actually. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you.
Before we came onto the actual live, we was building some, and it's just so
We
ironic
was.
how we have so much in common. It's like
Right.
it's
Right. You
it's
never know
ironic.
someone's background till you talk to them. Right.
Mm-hmm. And with you, it's like I kind of felt, I was like, you know what? I've been reaching out to certain people and everything, for the beginning of my show. Like, okay, I want to interview this person. I've been watching them for years.
Right.
I've been knowing this person for years. But see, I haven't known you for years. You're the only person that's been on my show that I have not known for years, But something told me I don't know, I just felt a magnet, like a connection to you. And I was like, I need to reach out to her because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
she has a story to tell. And I haven't even looked down your timeline, but it was just something told me to contact you. And then you told me your story. I'm like, whoa. And what was the first question I asked you was, how do you feel about bad mothers?
How, mm-hmm. We did.
Remember?
He was like, how do
And
you
I
feel
just
about
wanted
bad
to,
mothers? Yeah.
and I just wanted to see what was your response, because I don't know, I just kind of felt like you've gone through something. you can kind of see it in someone's eyes. You know what I mean? You can see it
Right.
in someone's eyes if they've gone through some
That
type
they
of
have a story
traumatic.
to tell.
Yeah,
Right.
that they have a story to tell. And this is the time, to tell your story, because that's a part of healing, being able to speak about what you've gone through. That's a form of healing.
Right.
You got to speak about it. You can't hold, past trauma inside. You got to let it go, and then move forward from
Hmm.
there. You know what I mean? So before I'm not going to really talk about my situation right now. I want to talk about your situation and what you've been through, and all that stuff right there. But before we get into that, I just want, I told everyone your name is Queen Divine Wisdom. Can you tell everyone who Queen Divine Wisdom is? And where did you come up with that name? Because, we have
Well,
similar things in common. It sounds very similar.
right. Well, the queen, as far as the queen in my name, um, the queen by wisdom is this attribute that came to me when I was at a place in my life where I knew who I was or who I wanted to be and my purpose in this physical realm. Being a queen by birthright,
Hmm.
and being a real fine black woman, also in which I use that platform that I have to speak um, on the injustices I see happening amongst my people and in my cipher, just everything around me. I use that. And, the divine being that one must be considered, you know, themselves divine, being pure and righteous in my ways. I intend to use the knowledge that I possess to spread enlightenment and love of self to bring out a better understanding, to help those to also seek out their true purpose in this physical realm. I feel like that's my calling, and I tend to do as I will, and, which brings us to wisdom. I am that I
Hmm.
am, and I always will be. I show that through my ways and my actions, and expressing knowledge that I possess to bring out an understanding, of all things. Understand the things that I don't know, understand the things that I know, and the things that I intend to teach. So,
That's great. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So
yeah.
I have two attributes, Fari X wisdom, and
Mhm.
I have wisdom born divine. So, but I typically just go by Fari X wisdom. So I understand
Right,
what you mean. I understand what you mean by why you chose that particular name.
right.
And I'm pretty sure you're living by that name, especially off of our bill before we went live, you know.
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure
Yes.
you are definitely living off of your name, and that's great. So where are you from and where did you grow up at?
I was born on Gates Avenue, like literally. I was born in the house. My
Hmm.
mother never made it to the hospital. I was born on Gates Avenue, but I grew up on Sutter and Blake until I was 8. And then she
And that's
moved the
in New
family
York,
to,
right?
yes, that is in New
Uh-huh.
York. That
That's in New
is.
York, yeah.
And yes, and she moved us to Coney Island, which is still in New York,
Hmm.
off of Surf. And we stayed there up until I was about, some say 16. And then she moved us to Houston, Texas. And I stayed there for about, I'm gonna say 12 years. Slowly in my life, I moved to myself and my.
Okay. So all right, so how about, okay, let's talk about living in New York first, right?
Okay.
Let's talk about there. When you was in New York during that time period, did you experience any form of racism or sexism, being, who you are, being a black woman? Did you experience one or both?
Um, Growing up, really, in the life I had in New York, um, I wasn't really allowed to go outside until I was about 12. And at that
Mhm.
time, I really did not experience a lot of things. And it was like once I did, it was more so of jealousy of my own kind that I experienced
Mm-hmm.
versus, racism from, other races. Surprisingly,
So you
that's what I
experienced
dealt with.
colorism? Was it more so colorism?
Right. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, yes. And I was light skinned, and at that time it was, oh, you light skinned, you makes you think you're all that type of attitude going on. And, that really wasn't it. I had battles within myself, fighting with the fact that I was the only one in my family, my color, and I had to learn to love that. It was hard, dealing with that
Right.
then.
Right. I understand. I understand. I dealt myself with colorism and racism growing up, with
Right.
both, because I was going from home to home for a little while, and I was a foster child at one point, but when I was with my permanent guardian at that point, which was my great grandma, she lived on the outer skirts of the city. And
Okay.
in them outer skirts, there was a lot of white folks, and I ended up
Mm,
having to go to a white school. So I was tormented in that school by the white children. Tormented. I used to get
wow.
hit in the head with by boys. I remember
Mm,
this one particular boy named Anthony who had a cast on his arm. He used to smash me in the head with his cast.
mm,
You know, and the teachers never did anything about it. And I used to go through that a lot. I even had been called racial names by the teachers when I was living in that
mm.
town. But then when I would move back into the city, then I did experience,
Right.
colorism from certain people. You know what I mean? Just certain people,
Right.
and I'm not sure really if it was really like, do you not really like me because I'm light skinned, or do you not really like me because um I live in a better house now? You know what I mean? Because
Right.
when I was in the city, I sometimes was living with my father and his sister, my aunt, and they
Right.
had a house. They own a house and everything. They've been owning that house for years. So a lot of I think sometimes it was more so jealousy because I wasn't in the bricks, I was in the house. But then
Mm-hmm.
when I was in the bricks living with my mom's side of the family, it was, I think, a mixture of both. Like, like you kind of don't fit in or whatever it might be, you know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like, but then that kind of that died out. That colorism kind of died out after a while. Then all of a sudden, I think the tables like reversed or something, and all of a sudden it was like they hate dark skinned people, and I was all of a sudden light skinned women are the bomb. Like, it was just so stupid.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was just crazy. And now again,
It is.
tables are starting to reverse again. Like, now it's back to,
Yep.
the dark skinned women are
Dark skin.
are
Mm-hmm.
you're it. You're definitely
Yep.
black if you're dark skinned. If you're too light, you're not black. Like, now it's just
Right.
crazy with this colorism stuff that's been going on. But I definitely experienced that, the both world. But I wasn't sheltered though. I was out. Like, my people had me out.
See,
I was outside playing that
with
hive, like out and about,
see with
you know?
me with the racism that kind of took place strongly once we moved to Houston.
That's what I
Um,
was gonna get into, the
because
Houston part.
yeah, yeah, because even though um we were black, we and you living in Houston, you would think, okay, well, that's the black part. That's where you're going to be safe or everything's going to be okay. Because no, when we moved to Houston, we were in a shelter when we first got there. My mom, it was me and my sisters at first, and in that shelter, it was of course run and owned by white people.
Mm-hmm.
And us going to school, being the fact that the school was what you would call an intermediate, school for color mixed races, white, black, purple, orange, all of that in between. But it wasn't like that. You can still see that there was still segregation within the school.
Right.
I got like I got mistreated, I got teased, I got jumped in the bathroom, and it scarred me because it was traumatizing, because you would think that being where we were and being in the position that we were in, that we would have been in a better position to get treated a different type of way because of the type of school that we was in and where the school was. But it wasn't like that. It was like it was worse, and I think that was the first
Mm-hmm.
time I really just wanted to just drop out of school and just do my own thing. Like, it
Right.
was
Right.
traumatizing. I really didn't want to. I didn't.
I'm sorry you went through that. And what grade was you in about?
That was the ninth grade.
Mm,
Because when we moved to Texas, because New York's curriculum was 2 years ahead of theirs, they and I that's something we went through out of jealousy. They would not skip me up the grade I was supposed to be in. They held me back.
mm.
So instead of me going into the 10th grade, they put me in the ninth grade. So I went through that too. Yeah.
That's crazy. See, by the time I was in ninth grade, all that kind of was done and dead with. Like by the time I into the high school, it kind of like I wasn't really experiencing it like that no more. You know what I mean? It was
Mm,
just
right.
I don't know, maybe because I knew everybody knew me, and that's just what it was. Like I didn't experience it like that, you know.
That was the uncomfortable part because it was like,
Yeah.
in New York, after all the years of going through that, of course, I grew up to know the people around me. I grew to have friends and stuff like that. But with us just up and moving, um, it was like starting over. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
anyone. We were the new faces, new kids on the block, and that's how we were treated.
Mm-mm. That's terrible. That's terrible. I tried to with my children, like when I started noticing, I had actually with my previous marriage, my we ended up moving into basically a all white city, you know, all
Hmm.
white town, and we moved there. We had Why did we go? Oh, we moved there because the home was cheaper. It was so much affordable because it was outside of the city of Atlanta, you
Of
know,
course,
and
aren't they
we
always?
yeah, so we didn't really do the knowledge on the area and stuff like that. We just kind of got the
Right.
crib. It was dope. It was 3 stories. It was nice. Like this is what we're gonna do. So we got the crib, but it was a racist town. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And but luckily the subdivision that I moved into, it was kind of mixed, you know, so my children didn't have any issues like that in that subdivision that is,
Right.
you know, and they had friends and so forth, but it was outside of that subdivision. It was the stores, it was all that stuff like that. And I was like, I got to get out of here. But
Yeah.
my ex was content with that area. He still lived there. You know what I mean? I'm like, hell
Mm.
nah. Like, no, there ain't no way I can stay in that area. You understand what I'm
I
saying? I
gotta
can't
go.
stay in no
I know
area.
you can't
Yeah.
stay there and have your kids there, because
No.
they're gonna be
Mm-mm.
subject to a lot of the things that you was going through when you was growing up. And we're trying to reverse
Exactly.
that. Trying to give them their best
Exactly.
chance.
And that's the whole point, like
Mm-mm.
we're talking about with this show, that reversing that
Right.
type of abuse that we went through. You know
Right.
what I mean? So I was like, hell no, I'm
Right.
up out of here. Like I'd be damned if my children get called a
Right.
nigger or anything of that nature. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I was experiencing
Right.
it just going to the store. I was experiencing all kind of just, you know, racism. You feel what I'm saying? Like, and I was
Right.
like,
Right.
nah.
Distasteful behavior.
Yeah, I was like, nah, I got to get up out of here. And so when he and I was done and over with, cause that's the first thing I did. I was bye, peace. You feel me? I went back.
Right.
I went
Okay.
peace. I went back to my people. You know what I mean? That's how
Right.
we always trying to live somewhere where we really shouldn't even
Right.
be at. It's like we subject
Yeah.
ourselves to some type of pain and whatever it is.
Because
You know what I
feel
mean?
like we're not welcomed instead of
Yeah.
actually building our own community and making our own
Yeah.
self comfortable and have it to where in our own area we can live in peace. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
feeling like, oh, minority, we in the hood, oh, this is about as bad as get. No, it's about as good as it get because we are at peace where we at. And as long as you make your
Mm-hmm.
living environment comfortable for you and yours, you don't have to worry about none of that stuff.
Exactly, exactly. It's about how you live. It's about how you
Right,
live, not how the people outside
right.
live. It's about how you live.
Exactly,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? So that's why I was like, I'm out. I went right to the south side. I'm out of here. There's no way I'm staying around all these white folks and none of this. You know what I
Right.
mean? Freaking rednecks riding around in pickup trucks. Hell no. I'm out of here. You know what I mean?
Girl,
So
that kind of sound like over here where we're at now. See, I did not know
uh-uh.
moving to Missouri that it was like this. Because my sister was in the Air Force, so I felt like coming out here, I was not going to be completely alone. Moving from Houston,
Right.
after the death of my first husband, and then coming out here. So it's like this is exactly what was going on out here. Because like just like you, I moved out here. I got me a 2-story house, 3-bedroom, 2-car garage in the suburbs. Like what, this is what I wanted for my
Mm-hmm.
kids, and just get away from all the toxicity, and didn't even know that I was moving them right into it. You know, with
Right,
they
right.
are riding around with them Confederate flags. You know, they still talking
Oh,
about
girl.
hanging niggas. You know, after 2 o'clock, and the police discrimination is real. It's
Oh, so
real.
you're in the sun. Are you? So you're in like in a sundown town then?
I know. I moved back into the city in the area where I was around my people. You know, it's more of us. The first
Mm-hmm.
year that we were here, I lived in a suburban area, very uncomfortable. Don't want to go
Oh
back.
hell no. Oh hell no.
No.
I was just on the I just did an interview with another sister a couple of days ago. Actually she's my author, and I was telling her about, our trip, from Atlanta up north, and we had to cross through some sundown towns where black folks couldn't be outside at a certain time, or you can get killed and it will be okay. It will be okay to
Yep,
be
that's how it
harassed.
is
It will be
here.
okay to be, and it was like, okay, and they're telling you, I went into a store and the person was like, it's whatever time. Well, I'm gonna give you an example. It's 7:32. Sundown starts at 7:35. You got to hurry up and go. Like, whoa. We're like, what you mean sundown starts at 7? What you talking about? Because the
Right.
white, they warned us, like they was like, you're traveling from somewhere else. Yeah, well, y'all got like 3 minutes, so go on and get on, so you don't got to worry
And
about
y'all
nothing. We're
did.
like, yeah, we
Right.
was all right. We out, dog. We out of here. Like, it's crazy. I had all
Right.
my
You heard
children
me
with me.
twice.
Yeah, I had all my children with me and everything. I'm like, nah, like this is not finna happen while I got my children with me. You feel what I'm saying? And then, girl, we done
Right.
went to another town, and there was a redneck, like, we turned the wrong road. And I know you done heard of the movies,
Mm.
The Wrong Turn,
Wrong turn.
Wrong Turn. Girl, we
Yes.
turned the wrong road. You feel me? So we turned down this road, and all of a sudden it's like this white man, hillbilly, looking like he came from the hills, have eyes,
I'm about to say that.
girl, was watching us and out his truck, like, and we had to try to get up out this dirt. We was on a dirt road. We had to get up out of there. You could see that he was
Mm-mm.
signaling something, like, oh hell no, nah, let's get up out of here.
Right.
Like, like these white
That
folks
kind
are
of
not
sound like
playing.
a place out here called Concordia. I actually ended up out there because I was looking for work, and it's really hard to find a job here that wasn't slaving me, like I was just getting off the ship. So I found this warehouse job that was kind of laid back, wasn't too much going on, of course, and it was in a all white city. So it was literally an hour away from where we are now. And I didn't care. I made that drive, I had to do what I had to do. But driving through that city, I noticed it looked real different. And I'm like, okay, okay. So I get there to this job. I am the only black person. I don't mean black woman. I mean
Mm-mm.
black person in this building. And they all flocking to me like I'm just some, circus creature to see.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
some of them, it was a polite, introduction, but I feel like it was only because they didn't want to feel like they were directly discriminating to my face, so it was like they were overly polite, overly helpful, and that type of stuff like that,
Mm.
and then I got off sometime in the evening, and I had stopped at the store to give me something to eat because I didn't eat none of that stuff there. I stopped at the store to give me something to eat, and this white man was just staring at me, and I was like, may I help you, sir? He say, yeah, I was just wondering what you was doing here. And I say,
Mm-hmm.
at the gas station, getting me a snack to eat. What are you doing here? He say, this is my town. This is my town. I live here. I was like,
Mm.
okay. So because you live here, I'm not allowed to come to the store? No, it's just that we know everybody out here in this town, and we don't like unfamiliar faces. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I said, okay, I understand. But at the end of the day, to be honest with you, I ain't got to worry about this unfamiliar face no more. Because I already noticed, like, I'm driving in and out of town by myself, and I refuse to get caught out
Mm-hmm.
there by myself at a certain time, feeling like I got to fear for my life, you know, and because that's exactly what was going to happen. And I swear I didn't go back. I quit that job, and they called me, oh, we was missing you up here. No, you wasn't. Stop lying.
Right. Stop lying.
Uh,
Stop lying. Girl,
right.
let me see. Let me think. I'm trying to think about it, because I actually stopped working for someone else maybe about a decade ago, 10, 11 years
Mm-hmm.
ago. But I was a nurse and I was working for myself. Then I was working out of Northside Hospital in Atlanta. I was on field, and there was an agency that would contact the hospital for nurses to go out to serve certain individuals. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And so in any case, there was a woman who was in dire need of a nurse. She had some things going on with her. I really can't remember what it was. I just know she was older and so forth like that. So they contact me and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go see her or whatever. And they said the woman, I will never forget the woman's name. Her name was Jennifer. She was like, um, are you black by chance? On the phone. And I was like, yeah, why? And she was like, okay, well, I just kind of want to warn you that the town that you're going to is not really too friendly for black people and so forth. Are you sure you want to do that? And I'm like, I was like, well, I'm not really tripping. What town is it? And they gave me the town.
Right.
And I was like, okay, that's not that far from where I live. I can still go over there. I'm not worried about these people that don't like me, and then she was like,
Right.
but she said, most likely, she's not gonna like you either. And I was like, well, that's up to her then. Does she
Well,
want to live? Does she want to live or does she want to die? Because whatever was going on where I think
right.
she was close to dying or something. And so then the woman basically straight up said she don't want me. There was no other nurse that was in that area that can go serve her.
Right.
So she didn't want me. So she chose to die. And I was like, fine,
Death. She chose death over it. Hey, that's just her
die
punishment.
then.
She
Shit,
either
I don't
caused
care.
her
That's
own demise.
yep.
Right.
Yep, go on, die then, die. That's what you want to do, die then die.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna shed a tear or grow a gray hair or lose any hair over
Right.
you not wanting me to take care of you and you have no one else to
Right.
take care of you. You know what I mean? So that
Right.
was it. And at that point, I stopped. I was done. Like I was just done. Period. I was like, you know what? Because I already was experiencing certain forms of
Right.
discrimination and racism and so forth. So I was done. I
And
was like, you know
again,
what? I'm
being
done.
mistreated.
Yeah, I was like, I'm done. So I just stopped. And ever since then, I just been self-employed, just been doing my own thing. I was like, because I've always was into medicine and medical and so forth. So I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm just going to do what I got to do. I'm going to focus on my entertainment company. I'm going to go out and start figuring out a way to become a healer, natural, and, all that. And
Right.
that's what I did. You know what I mean? Because I just couldn't deal with it. I'm like, we have to learn how to take ourselves out of certain things, certain situations.
Right.
You know what I mean? Instead of allowing ourselves to go through certain pain and certain anger
Right.
and certain hurt. You know what I
Because
mean? So like that.
a lot of times I feel like, oh, I have to do this because I have to survive. Yeah, no, you have to live and you have to live comfortably for yourself. You don't have to
Right.
survive any conditions that somebody else has set for you. You are able to make your own decisions, make your own money, and do it in your own way. You don't have to follow someone else's rules because you feel like this is my last resort. No, the last resort is one that you make for yourself.
Exactly. The one that you make for yourself. And that starts with
Right,
self-love. You know what I mean? Come
right,
on, where's your
right,
self-love? Where's the love for yourself? Where's the empowerment for
right.
yourself? It's just crazy. Hold on, let me see. You got a couple of comments on here right quick. Okay, so Talib, he said he has to go to work, but he said he's gonna come view it later.
Okay. Peace.
So yeah, and we got people need to know and understand what we are actually scientists that has already and always be within. Yeah. So yeah, everything is really
Yeah.
within ourselves. Okay, my father, he's one of our biggest supporters on this show. So he says peace and blessings to all the mothers, and I mean mothers, not people who gave birth to children. Lots of love and respect to my young queen daughter Fari X, and peace to Queen Divine Wisdom. That's from my
Peace.
father. Yes. So let me see who else. We got a lot of people just showing us love on here. Peace, peace. They woke up. People just tuning in. So great. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning
Awesome.
in. We've been
Yes,
building
thank
about,
you.
yes, if you don't know, we've been building basically about racism right now and colorism and so forth that we've been experiencing over the years, in certain places that we live in. So we just got on, the topic of work, racism and
Yes.
colorism in our workplaces.
Self-love.
Self-love and self-empowerment. You
Yes.
got to have that. You have to have that will, and you have to have that strength to be able to take yourself out of a certain situation straight up. you
Right.
know because you don't have to hurt yourself. You don't have to hurt yourself just to make $1. You don't.
Yes, that's
There's
all
other
it is.
ways. Mm-hmm. So appreciate that you have allowed me to see about this platform. You're welcome, William Lies. You're welcome. So let's get on now. We talked about the racism. We talked about the colorism in certain areas that we lived at and so forth. Now let's get on how you ended up in those certain areas. You said your mom brought you to Texas, right?
Yes.
Yes, let's get on how you got there. How did you get to that
Okay.
point in Texas, and why was you there in the first place in the
Well,
shelter?
first, we're gonna get on, the fact of my mom, and her being the dysfunctional being that she was and still is.
Right.
She was going through this me, I don't need nobody type of attitude thing, and had decided that she was going to up move and leave my father at that time, and she was going to take her girls and she was going to go to another state. To be honest with you, for 5 years we watched her chase another man that we never saw, you know and we were trying to understand it, but as children, and out of respect, we just didn't question a lot of things because it was not placed to. So we just, of course, as children, we just had to go with the flow. So at that time, I remember I was modeling, and I could not get no support for that, and at the time, me and my father's relationship was kind of strained as well. And my mom gave me the ultimatum to either stay with him, whom she knew I had a bad relationship with, or to come with her somewhere where I knew no one, and I had to let go of the career that I was trying to set for myself. Modeling was something that I was really into, and I was really good at it. So she left. She took us to out to West Bubble, what the heck, and we end up at the shelter. And again, selfishly, this man that we do not know of, um, he offered to put her in her own place, and like I said, she was just on this myself movement. I don't need no man, type of attitude thing going on. And she rejected his help. And we ended up at a shelter, and we ended up staying there for about a year. We were at two different shelters. And the very first one was a 30-day shelter just for placement. And then after that, they will put you in like a transitional living center. And it was called Star of Hope. And it was a very racist place. It was very uncomfortable treatment. It was a very just out of bounds feeling being in there, and the fact that, to be honest with you, I think at that time we were the only Black family that was there. Us being there a little while into it, we started to see more families of color coming in there, but you can tell it was different treatment within the place. Um, and that's how we actually got to Houston and ended up in the shelter. And we stayed there for about a year until she got housing and moved out.
And how old was you said?
I
15,
was six.
16?
I was
16.
15, going on 16.
Goodness,
Yep.
goodness. So what about your mother made her dysfunctional? Like, what was it?
As a child, I didn't know. I think as a child, I thought, okay, this is my first experience with someone with, a very strong bipolar disorder. But what made her dysfunctional as a child was the fact that she was very selfish. Um, she's abusive. And she could care less about what you thought or how you felt. If it did not make her happy, it did not matter.
Mm,
And she expressed that in the strongest ways. At one point in time, once we had got to Houston, the first year of us being there, I went to the doctor for my well-woman checkup, and the doctor diagnosed me with deep depression. And he's like, just talk to your mother about it, and just, let her know, because you're going to need some family support for this, because that's where it starts. And I was like, oh boy, well, I'm going to be dealing with this for the rest of my life, So I went to her and I told her, Mom, I talked to the doctor, and he said that I'm showing a lot of strong signs of deep depression. Mom has this problem with immersing herself in her computer. And that's how she was for about 10 years and still like that now. No attention whatsoever. I'm talking to her and she's still on the computer doing her thing. And mom, and us Black children, we got this thing where we don't want to call our parent one too many times, because when you get that what, it's like never mind, never mind. So it's like right. So it's like I called her again, and then that's what she gave me, the what. And I'm like, Mom, sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I needed to talk to you about something. I got these pills, and the doctor said, they're mood stabilizer. They're going to help me with the chemical imbalance I got going on. But first, before I start the medication, I need to start with the family support. She's like, basically, what is it? Because I'm dragging it out. I'm taking too long to explain to her what it is that I want while I'm in her room. And I'm like, well, the doctor said, I'm suffering from deep depression. And that's when she stopped and looked at me. And her exact response was, girl, get the F out of my face. We Black, we don't suffer from the depression. And I was just like, and I cried. I cried so hard because I knew something was wrong with me emotionally, and I knew that it was becoming a mental problem. But it was like, how can you seek help from the person that has caused this mental, disruption and this emotional turmoil within me, So that's how that went.
And you said to this day, your mom is still like that?
Yes, she is. To this day, she is still like that. And it was like, I had decided when when I was in New York that I had to separate myself from my family, and I was 12. I was working. I was working at 12 years old. I had my first summer job, which became a permanent job. It was for New York City Housing Authority. And I used that money to take care of my family, because one of my mom's problems was she was a young parent, and you can tell as she got older, she got to the point to where it was like she was tired of being a mother. She stopped taking care of us. She stopped caring if we ate. She stopped caring if we was about to kill each other, in the house. And it got to the point to where somebody had to step up. And since I was used to taking care of my younger siblings, I also helped to take care of my older siblings. I took my checks to buy food, to take care of them, give them what they needed. And this was at 12, um, I'm making sure that they're fed. I'm cooking their meals. If there's no food in the house, I'm taking the scraps that we have in there, and I'm taking that to make a new meal. And it didn't. To me, it had no effect on her whatsoever to see that we were like that. She had basically boarded herself up in her room. She had a refrigerator in her room. She had her own groceries in her room. So it was like, if we didn't have any food, oh well, that's your fault, y'all ate it all. But it was like, you gotta understand that by the time you put groceries in here, we're starving, and we need to eat. We're borderline malnourished. You have, at the time, because she has 8 children, 4 boys, 4 girls exactly. My older sibling didn't live with us. And one of my other sisters, she moved in with us when we moved to Coney Island when I was about 8 or 9 years old. She lived with her grandmother too. And it was like a lot of, as I got older, I seen why, and, with that being said, it was like, you have 7 children in this house. And do you think that putting the amount of food that you put in here is to satisfy all of our hunger? We've been starving for I don't know how long, and that's where we learned the, rice and sugar, butter, and stuff like that. And at that point, it was like, it was beyond survival. It was to the point to where it was becoming traumatic and detrimental to our well-being to survive that, you know. So that's, and still like that to this day. We are all separated, you know. I think she has two of my siblings that still stay with her. You know, it was a lot of stuff going on in the house, you know, molestation, you know, raping, you know, and and a lot of that stuff actually started coming out this year, you know, with a lot of the kids building up enough courage to speak on what was happening in that house. Because, like I said, you know, I didn't go outside till I was about 12 years old, but that was all of us. You know, we were trapped in that house. At one point, we were all sleeping in the same bedroom, even though she had a 4-bedroom apartment. You know, we all were in the same bedroom. You know, and a lot of things was going on in the rooms, you know, that nobody knew about, you know, until everybody started to gain the courage and the heart to speak on it, you know. And right now, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
we're all separated. You know, I myself live in another state. You know, my sister herself, she lives in another state. You know, my brother, one of my brothers, you know, still lives in Texas, but he's nowhere near my mom. You know, my eldest brother, the same thing. You know, he has his own place. He has his own family now. You know, and it's just
Mm.
the segregation. It was real. You know, due to the dysfunction in the house.
Right, right. Did your mother, do you know if your mother went through any type of traumatic, experiences as a child herself? Is that a possibility as to
Yes,
why she was, you know, being that way towards you all? Did she go through
yes.
anything as a child?
I'm gonna be honest with you. It's for me to get older and have my own children to actually start to look back, because of course when we become parents we start to question ourselves, because we know how we don't want to be treated because of the things that we went through, but we don't realize the things, some of the things that we are doing stem from a lot of the traits from our parents, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like we talk about generational curses. And it took for me to think back on some of the things that happened when I was a child and piece it together myself to realize that, you know what, she's damaged. You know, she's traumatized and she's hurt. And she's a prime example of what happens when you choose to internalize everything instead of finding a way to deal with your pain and your traumatic experiences in your life. You know, and one of the things that I thought back on when I was a child that actually helped me to understand was the day that I told my mom that I was raped. I told my mom, you know, I was pregnant with my daughter, and I had two of my children very young. I was 17, about to be 18, and I actually moved back into my mom's house early because I was having problems with her father, and I just do not accept mistreatment. And you know, she told me, even being pregnant, well, you know, really, I had 60 days to get up out of her house. But during this pregnancy, the doctor told her that, you know, I need to be on bed rest, you know, because I was carrying heavy and I was at risk of my pelvic bone being displaced and stuff like that. And I need to be, you know, I need to lay down. I needed to be down for the last 2 months of my pregnancy. She slaved me out like Cinderella. Everything that needed to be done, from cooking, cleaning to washing, everything, you know, she had me doing. And at one point in time, I was in so much pain, I could barely stand up. And she wanted me to lock the whole house, you know. And I told her, you know, this is the first time I can feel like I actually stood up and I can say disrespected, you know, is what they would call, you know, disrespect to your parent. Um, I told her no, you know, that I wasn't going to. I told her no, that I wasn't going to, and the reason why. I said, because the doctor told you that I need to be on bed rest, and I said, yet and still in here, you know, you slaving me out, you know, and I don't mind doing things that you ask, and you know, and this is exactly what I told her. You know, I've never disrespected you. I've never blatantly disrespected my mother. I said, but I'm not gonna off this floor. You know, I say you don't
Mm-hmm.
listen, you don't care. I say, if it don't benefit you, it means nothing to you. I say, and I sat up here, I try to tell you, I say it stems back from when we was younger. I sit up here and I try to tell you about how I was raped, and you were nonchalant about it. You didn't care. And her response was, "So you think you was the only person that happened to?" And that memory as an adult is what helped me realize that even though at that time, it was a very nonchalant and very cold response, she was also telling me something about herself,
Mm-hmm.
that she had possibly went through some traumatic things, herself,
That
So
response alone said it.
right,
You don't think no
right,
one else have been raped? You don't think that's happened to anyone else? Yeah,
right.
that was a that was like a, what would you call it? Not a blank answer, but it was an indirect answer. You know
Right.
what I
It was
mean?
like a direct
It
response.
was,
Right, right, right,
yeah, indirect answer. Like she was telling you, like, this happened to me, so get over
right,
it. Get over it.
right. Exactly. Yep,
She felt like she
yep.
got
That's
over
that's
it,
exactly
so
how
you
I
should get
felt.
over it.
Yep,
Yeah,
and that's
that's
exactly
what
how I
that was.
felt.
You know, you there was some there's a couple of things you said, during this time. I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna rewind it to the rice,
Rewind.
butter. I'm gonna rewind it to the rice, butter, and sugar. That was
Yes.
something that we had to eat too. They called it
Mm.
project cereal. That's what they called it.
Yes.
Yeah, project cereal. And sometimes that was the last thing we had to eat was project cereal, the rice, butter, and
Right.
sugar. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't rice, butter, and sugar, the church had cornbread for days. So we'd have hella cornbread. Cornbread,
Mm-hmm.
rice, butter, sugar. Rice, butter, sugar. You
I know
know,
too well about that cornbread.
yes, that's all we had for a long time. Um, for example, in my situation, I really to this day, I believe I know what my biological mother's issue is. I believe I know, you know, but my mom, from what I remember, sad to say, you know, I don't I don't really have the best of memories with my mother. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Um, I'm sure she did really, really love me at one point. You know what I mean? I'm
right.
sure she did. Um, but I was told by different family members, that she just kind of stopped liking me when I was about 3 years old, you know?
Mm,
Um, so unfortunately, I don't really have a lot of great memories of her as a child because she
right.
literally abandoned me and my sibling. She left us. And
Wow.
yeah, and the system had to take over, you know? And she came back years later. For a long time, I didn't even really, think about her at all. My great grandma was my mom. My grandmother was my mom. Like I don't know. She just really wasn't a thought that came to my mind because I had that
Right.
love from my other moms. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she didn't come to my mind at all. But I would hear her name and I didn't know it was her. Like they would say her name, but I did not know that was my mother's name. But I would hear them say little things about her. When I say them, I'm talking about my grandmother and my great grandma, depending on who I
Mm,
was living with
right.
at the time. And I would hear them say little things, and then eventually I realized they was talking about my mother, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a while, I thought maybe she was dead or something. I didn't know where she was because
Right.
she didn't contact me or nothing. I didn't know where she was. But my mother
Right.
too was she chased behind a man. She was chasing behind a man. And my mother also ended up getting strung out on drugs, you know.
Mm,
Um so I just these are things I realized when I was 5 or so, what was going on with her. Um I know that at one point in time she came back when I was about 5 or something, 6.
mm,
No, I wasn't 5. I was like 6 maybe. She came back and she demanded to take us back, and when she took us, we went through a lot. I remember, the drugs being, in the house, them selling drugs, doing drugs. I seen my mother be physically abused by the person that she was with. Um, I remember a lot, at that age, 5 years old, six, I just remember seeing a lot that I should not have seen, and so forth. Now, my father, he was recovering from his addiction, so he was no longer on drugs. He was recovering. Um, honestly, I don't remember the exact time frame my father became a recovering addict, but it was definitely before I was like 8, years old. But he was like straight. But my father was very much active in trying to see us. I remember he would come see us when I was with my great grandparents, but my mother was nowhere to be found. I'd never seen my mom. I'd see my dad's face, He made sure to come see us and everything because my father was just as hurt as we were. My mother actually wrote a letter and said she didn't want us. She said it. She just did not want us. Left a note, didn't want us, abandoned us, everything, So when we was living with her at that age, there was a raid that happened in the house. And I remember to this day when the police emptied out our cereal box and Heron came out our cereal box. They had it stashed inside of our cereal box. And oh, my father just commented. So it was 1989. My father been recovered since 1989. So, but I remember, and congratulations to you, Daddy. For real, I'm so proud of you.
Yes,
But
congratulations.
yes, I'm so proud of you. But I remember when they dumped that cereal box out, the heroin came out the cereal box and it was all on the table and stuff. Like, and the police, they of course they was not only mistreating my mom and that guy she was with, they was pushing us around too, during the raid. They didn't care about us, and we ended up back at a foster facility until my great grandparents came through and picked us up or whatever. But I didn't see my mom for years, I don't honestly, because this is to my recollection. I don't remember the exact amount of time. I just know that happened in between 5 and 6, like 5 or something like that years old. And then I didn't see her again until I was maybe 10 or 11, and at that time when I seen her, she was more so trying to make up for the time lost. Like she was trying to buy me, she was it was my birthday. So it was my 10th or 11th birthday, and I remember she took me to go see Sister Act 2, and she took me to Chuck E. Cheese, and she gave me some money. She did my hair. My mother's has always been real good at doing hair, so she did my hair, and I guess she felt like that was like making up for the time lost, and I remember she was saying a little bit to me like, oh, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna get y'all, I'm gonna do what I gotta do, for y'all, whatever. That didn't happen. It just didn't happen like that. I did see her maybe a couple years later. And my mom has always been jealous of her sister. And I'm very, very close to my aunt. Me and my aunt were only like 8 or 9 years apart. So we was like sisters. She was like my big sister versus my aunt. And my mom, she always had an issue with her. Like she just, I don't know, like some type of jealousy issue with her. So I remember she came over, my mom wanted to fight. It was just all hell, and I was like 13 maybe. At this time I was living with my dad with my people, my father's side of the family. So I remember, I just remember like they was fighting and the police came, and I had the money because I stayed with money on me. I was a little hustler even at like 12, and I always had bread. So the police came and my aunt was like, "Can you bail me out? Do you have money to bail me out?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna bail you out. I got the money." And my mom was like, "Don't you bail her out. You bail her out. When I get out, I'm gonna fuck you up. If you bail her out, I'm gonna beat you." I'm like, God, I'm like, but I still bailed her out, and I knew she wasn't going to put her hands on me. I'm still bailing my aunt out, and I bailed my mom out. I gave them both the money. At that time, like for those type of family disputes, it was like only $25 bail, something like that. So it was pocket. I just gave it to them, and then I was out. I went back to Boston because that's where I was living at. And then I didn't see her again until I was like maybe 16 or something like that. I was locked up, and she just popped up at the DYS, the Department of Youth Services place I was at. She
Mm.
just popped up out of nowhere. And at this time, I was on my own. My great grandma passed away when I was like 12 or 13. You know,
Mm.
my auntie, who was my father's sister, she kind of gave up on me because she was going through her own thing. And she
Right.
did apologize to me about, those things that happened, because she was going through her own stuff. She kind of just gave up on me, and I ended
Right.
up in the system. You know what I mean? And I was just kind of going from here to there. I remember at one point in time I was homeless. I slept in hallways. I was a teenager.
Mm.
I was sleeping in the hallways, girl. Sometimes my friends would just kind of hide me in their cribs because I did want to go to school. So they would hide me in their cribs just so I can go to school the next day. You know what I mean? I was like really,
Mm.
really going through it as a young girl, and I was in and out of DYS, and I made sure I kind of put myself in DYS in the wintertime so I wouldn't be outside in the cold. You know what I
Right.
mean? But she just popped up on me there, and she kind of was just like, "Hey, like, I know how to get you out of here." Like on some mode, like, I'm gonna help you break out of here. Like, you know what I mean? And so
Right.
forth. And I listened to her, and I broke up out of DYS. You understand what I'm saying? And that was my first time. So that was her entering my life. I'm thinking on a positive note, but really, as I grew up, I see that was negative. Like, she shouldn't have came there telling me how to break out of
Right.
the facility. You know what I mean? And I broke out. I was
Right.
on a run. I ended up in California, and to go to my mom's for her to mistreat me, you know. And I
Right.
skipped some other stuff that happened as well in my lifetime with my mother. I just kind of went past some things, but that I ended up being mistreated by my mom, like at 15, 16 years old. I can't remember how old I was. I think I was 16, 17 at that time. And
Mm.
she was horrible, and I was forewarned not to go to her. Like, my family said, don't go out there with her. Don't
Right.
go out there. Just turn yourself back in, do that little time, turn yourself back in, because I could not live with my family. My family had their own things going on. People had warrants. Some of my family were drug addicts, and the system would go check their houses before they allowed you to stay there. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I really had no choice but kind of be in foster care unless I was on the run from the foster care. And I would just go home with
See,
my
that's
grandma.
crazy. Like, I don't even think that our family knew what was going on, inside
Oh,
my mom's
shoot.
house. She was so private, and I'm gonna say private,
Mm-mm.
I'll say secretive. She was so secretive, and I said we wasn't going outside, and that brings me back to what you said about your mom not liking you at 3 years old. My mother actually blamed me for her life and how it was. I was a very sickly child, and she had to take care of me, from the time that I was born. And she literally blamed me. And I'm the middle child. So it's like you had one, two, three, four, five kids before me, and it's like, how can I be the result of why your life is the way it is? And she expressed that, and she expressed that deeply with
Possible
me more so than
jealousy.
she has. And that's what my grandmother told me. My grandmother said that you got to understand that your mom is really jealous of you. And I'm like, I'm trying to
My
figure out
grandmother told
why.
me the same thing. My grandmother told me the same thing about my mother.
Right. I
She
just
told me the
couldn't
same thing
understand
about
it.
mine. It's hurtful. It's a
It was just
hurtful feeling.
horrible. It
Yeah, it's
is.
it's
It
it's
is.
a hurtful feeling when you think about it all, especially as you retrospect, as an adult, and you
Right.
think back, like, dang, like something really was wrong with my mother. Something was really
Yes.
wrong, and it wasn't me. It was definitely her. Something was wrong.
Right. Right.
And like, okay, let me let me fast forward a little bit more from that time period. I
Uh-huh.
also got pregnant at a young age. I was 18, you know, and
Uh-huh.
you said you were 17, I think, right? Gonna be
Uh-huh.
18. I was
Yeah.
18, and I I got pregnant by someone in California, right? Mind you, I was still on the run. Remember, I told you I broke out of like this place like
Yeah. You broke out of
sometime
the
before that.
facility.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so my grandfather was like, okay, baby, you gotta come back. You need to turn yourself in so you don't have to have this over your head, whatever, whatever. So that's what I did. I went back home to Boston, and my grandmother and so forth, and my grandfather and a couple of the family members met up with me and brought me to the facility. And the guy was just like, hey, sign yourself out from here on out. Like, if you get any trouble, you're going to regular jail. We're not going to be here to help you out. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm pregnant. I'm out, So that was it.
Right.
Well, other things started happening. And again, I turned to my mother when everyone told me don't go to her, but you want to turn to your mom. You want to, count on your mom for things because that's
Right.
your mother. That's your mother. So
That's your
you want to
mother.
count on her.
Right. Right.
Right. So I turned to my mother for that support and everything because I didn't know what to do. I never, I didn't know what to do as a being a mother or
Right.
being a pregnant. I didn't know
Right.
anything. So I turned to my mother and I just kind of wanted to be around her because she was my mom. And people was like, don't do it, don't do it. Girl, my mom was still on drugs at that time. And
Mm.
she lied. She was saying she wasn't, but she was. And my mom was trying to hook me up with a guy that was selling the drugs to her, I guess so she can get
Mm.
free drugs. Mind you, I'm
Right.
pregnant. Mind you, I'm pregnant. I'm like 5 months pregnant or something like that. Don't you know, because I did not want to talk to this man, my mom fought me. My mom sliced me with a knife twice. She pulled a knife out on me. This
Wow.
woman, yeah, she tried to kill me while I was pregnant. She kicked me in my stomach. She did all kind of stuff to me when I was pregnant with my firstborn child, and then kicked me out. It was wintertime. Kicked me out. And I ended up having to go with my auntie, the one that's like 8 or 9 years older than me, I mean.
Mm.
So I went with her. And that was the first time I said, okay, yeah, this woman is nuts. Like, she crazy.
Right.
And then I had to fight my moms. You know what I mean? I had to fight her. And I'm like, why do I have to fight my mother? Like, I shouldn't have to fight my moms. You don't do that. You don't treat your children
Right.
like that. And I thought, and I contacted my grandma. I talked to my grandma about it. My grandma was like, I don't know. She's always been like that since she was little. Mind you, I'm like 18 at the time. So I'm just listening like, dang,
Right.
like she was little, like always crazy like this, since she was little.
Right. Right.
Like what in the world? But I still didn't know enough to understand that my mother has gone through some type of abuse or
Right.
something as a
Right.
child, and I'm like, dang, like why? Like this is crazy, you know what I mean? And it happened so many times to the point that over the years, as I had children, every time I was pregnant, my mother and I always bumped heads. It's like she always wanted to fight me physically harm me while I was pregnant.
That
So
was me too.
I had to move away from my mom's. Like I left the state where I left Cali and I moved to Vegas. I said I have to get away from her, because it was like I just felt like I was subjecting myself to harm, to danger, and possibly my children. And all I
Right.
could see,
Right.
all I could see was like social services coming and taking my children because of my mother or something,
Right.
So I left. Girl, after that point, it was still me and her became good. We was good. That distance made us stronger because we was away
Right.
from each other,
Apart from each other.
Yes, but when we got together, it was like little things, like jealousy things. And over the years, we was good for a while because I kept my distance from her. I stayed away from her for years. Mind you, I have not
Right.
seen my mother since 2000 and I think 8. I haven't seen her.
Mm.
So I literally kept my distance from her from 2008 till now. I
Yeah.
have
See, I
not seen
haven't I
her.
haven't seen mine
I have,
since like 2016, and I really hear from her
mm,
unless I call her. We do
I
not.
haven't
Once we come together, it's like water. It's like water and oil
I haven't seen my. I just can't. I don't. I refuse to subject my children to the type of
to
stuff
that
I went
treatment.
through. Yes. Mm-mm.
Hmm.
And about 4 years ago, it happened again. And this is when now I'm grown. I'm really grown now. So now, and at this
Right.
time, I already received my holistic certification. I've already been in school for
Mm.
counseling psychology. So I'm already trying.
You
I'm
have a better
already now like.
understanding of things.
Yes, I took sociology. So now I'm realizing, okay, my mother is definitely mentally ill. She
Uh,
did some stuff to me 4 years ago that I will never, ever, 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 ever forget. I done forgave her for it without her apologizing, but I won't forget it. And
hmm
for that reason, I will never go back around her and I won't allow my children around her.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But she did
Yeah.
some really, really, really foul stuff to me. It said some foul things like she wished death on on me, wished death on my children.
Mm.
She just said some horrible things. You understand what I'm saying? But she
Right.
says a lot when she's mad. When she's mad, she says a lot. And I'm the type of person people say, oh, that was they just mad. Don't worry about it. They was mad. But
No,
no,
I feel like that's when they speak the truth. Like my grandmother
I
told me,
really,
the two times you're gonna hear somebody speak honestly is when they're drunk
when
and
they
when they're
drunk or when they
angry.
mad. Yep, when they
Yep.
drunk and when they mad. So
Hmm.
I was like,
And that's crazy.
like,
My mama did the same thing recently, and that's when I like had decided, you know what, I'm done, because I'm done trying to have a relationship with you. I'm done trying to understand you, for us. You
mm-hmm.
know, it's a two-way street. You know, I cannot heal this or mend this relationship between us on my own. And I feel like trying to accept you as my mother is one thing, or but accepting your ways and your actions, that's
That's
another thing.
another.
You know,
That's another thing.
right,
Exactly. That's
right,
another thing. And you don't have to,
right.
you don't have to accept that. You don't have to
Nope.
accept that in your life. You don't have to. And with our mothers and other mothers out there who treat their children badly and poorly, especially because of possible jealousy and so forth, they have to start
Right.
taking accountability of their actions. They need to actually look back at
Yes.
themselves and see where they went wrong at or what happened to them. I realized as I got older, my mother has gone through so much as a child herself. You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Herself. And that's because my grandmother went through a lot as a child, you know?
Right.
And it kind of just went along like the first order to the first order to the
Cycle.
first order.
It's a
Yes.
cycle.
And you have to break that at some point. Someone has to break that. You know, someone has to break
Right.
that chain, you know? And my grandmother, I wouldn't say she was a bad mother to my mom. It was just that my grandmother, she didn't have that. She didn't know how to be what you would call affectionate like that. You know, she didn't
Right.
have that affection like that because she lacked that affection from my great grandma. You know,
Right.
and my grandmother told me like, you know, my mom, she was nice, you know, but she just wasn't affectionate like that, you know. And what happened was my grandmother was not as affectionate with her daughter, you know, and
Right.
my grandmother also didn't really build with my mother like that, you know, but she was a
Right.
mother to her. And when my mother became out of hand, she passed it to my great grandma, you know,
Mm.
and have my great grandmother take care of her. But that's just kind of how it was with them women. And my great
Right.
great grandmother was the same way. I knew my great great grandmother as well. She was not an affectionate person like that, you know, but
Right.
she was a strong woman. She took care of all her daughters. My great great grandma had a lot of children, daughters. She took care of her children, you know, and that's one thing she did do. But the affection was not there in those women.
It was
You know what I
non-existent.
mean?
I think that I do
Yes.
that same thing, and it's like biologically, I have one daughter, and I know too. That's too familiar to me because my mother was the same way. You know, the affection, it was not there, as you can tell. You know, from some things I told you, there
Mhm.
was no there was no adverse reaction to emotion. There was no adverse reaction to the things that I was going through, you know, or me even just breaking down and coming to her and pouring my heart, you know, expecting certain reactions. You would hurt yourself to go to her
Mhm.
and expect a certain reaction or emotional reaction from her. And that's what I went through, you know, with my daughter. And it took for me
Right.
to realize, you know, I can't do that. You know, I've realizing that she's going through some things and she needs a certain reaction. And we need that growing up
Mhm.
because it teaches us humility. You know what I mean? Being
Mhm.
humane, being considerate, being compassionate. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Right.
just
Absolutely.
right,
Absolutely. And that's why, like I was saying, we have to, that's when it takes us to break that cycle. We have to break it,
right,
you know, and we also have to tell our parents, if it was the mother or the father. Right now we're speaking on mothers because it's Mother's Day
right.
tomorrow.
Mother's
We
Day,
have to have
right,
the courage in us to tell our mom, you know what, you're at fault. You're at fault. You
right.
need to take responsibility. You need to take accountability for your actions. Like this wasn't me. I was a
Hmm.
child, so this is your fault. You was the adult.
Right,
You know, I was a child,
right.
I was the baby, you was the adult. This is not my fault. This
I
is
didn't
your fault.
ask to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, and sometimes they don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? They don't want to hear
Mm-mm.
that. When me and my mom got in that fight when she pulled those knives out on me, and when I was pregnant, I told her that. I said, "You never liked me." I said, "I know the truth." I said, "My grandmother told
Hmm.
me you never liked me. You know, you're
Yep.
jealous of me. You don't care about me like that. That's why I was never with you." I told her that, and my mother was so furious. But when you tell the truth to people, they get
And the
angry.
truth hurts. You
Yes, they
know, the
get
truth hurts.
angry. She cried. She was
Hmm.
so mad. She was so mad. She cried and she was like, F your grandma, F you. That's her
Right,
mom she's talking about. F her, blah, 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 blah,
right.
blah. kick me out. You know, she went ahead and she tried to stab me and everything. She did slice me. I still have the scars on my arm from when she sliced me, you know, and my son just turned 19. So she sliced me basically almost 20 years ago, you know, and I still have the slices on my arm from the butcher knife she pulled out. So it's just like when you tell them the truth, you're either going to get a violent response, a cold response, or you might get a more of a loving response back. It's those three, you know. But unfortunately, I got the violent response. But you have to tell your parents the truth. You know, I'm hurt.
No matter how it comes out.
I'm hurt. I didn't do this. This is not my fault. You know, I don't know why you're so mad at me. I don't know why you don't like me, but this is not my fault. Did something happen to you? You know, how was your childhood growing up? You know, and I had that conversation with mom as well. What was your childhood like growing up? I had this conversation with her when I was like maybe about 6 years ago. You know,
what happened? Like after a while, you get to the point to where you're like, man, what happened to you? Like, like what happened to you? Because I'm trying to figure out what did I do, like to deserve the treatment that I'm receiving and the things that's happening, you know, within our relationship.
Yeah, you have to have them, you know, do some introspection and retrospection, you know, and sometimes they won't do it unless they called out on it, you know. And when I called my mama out, she told me, you know, she was like, oh, I remember she told me something that happened to her, you know, right before she ended up in a foster home, the same foster home I was in. You know, my mom was in the same foster home I was in, and she told me something that happened to her. She told me that her and my grandmother got into it or something, and somehow she banged her head on a radiator, you know. But she tells me that my grandmother smashed her head in the radiator. I don't believe that at all, you know. But my grandmother, I do not believe that because my mother she lies, you know. So I don't believe that. But when I asked my grandma about it, and my grandma said no, that her and my uncle or something was fighting, you know, and she came in and she came between it. My mother fell and she hit the radiator, you know, and I guess she banged her head on the radiator or something like that. So that's something that traumatized my mom. She brings that up. She brings that up. Ever since I asked her about her past, you know, she brings up this time when she hit her head on the radiator. She brings up, you know, my grandmother not really being affectionate with her like that, you know. So that definitely hurt my mother, you know, when she was growing up. Those things hurt her. And other things.
Apparently, she needed that. You know, apparently
she
in
did.
her life,
she did.
Needed that. She needed that emotional connection because it was really important to her. You know, and because she did not have it, that produced the person that she was, because it produced the characteristics that she developed throughout her life because of that emotional connection that she was looking for, you know, and she
was
felt
not
empty.
there. It was not there. That emotional connection she was looking for was not there. It wasn't there. And it could be because my grandmother had children at a young age, very, very young, you know, and my grandma had quite a few children. But some people, you know, have a lot of children and they don't know how to distribute their love between all the children. They don't know how to do it. Yeah, they don't know how to, you know, and then there's some people that can. You know, and I don't know if that was a situation with my grandmother, you know, or not. I still don't know to this day because I never really asked her, you know what I'm saying? But I know that I know that my mother definitely did, you know, she didn't feel that, you know what I mean? I know she didn't feel that. And I still feel bad for her, you know, because she takes that out on even okay, I have a brother by her, you know, and she took it out on him in ways as well. You know, he won't say it, you know, he won't admit it because they're very, 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 very close. They're very, very, very close. And he kind of rides for her, you know, the long way. But she took it out on him as well. You know what I mean? And then it was like, yeah, she took it out on him as well, but that's her favorite child, though, definitely. And definitely that's her favorite child.
Because you know, my mom has one of those too, and you know, this favorite child of hers actually abused, you know, some of my other siblings, you know, I mean, sexually and physically, you know, and to this day, she still protects him. To this day, she still protects him. He is one of her favorites, and he still lives in her house as a grown man. He could come and go as he feels. He can work and not work if he wants to, and she still protects him. He could do no wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That's kind of how it is with my particular brother,
Right,
excluding the abuse part. I'm not that part, but there's nothing he can really do wrong, period.
right.
And she definitely chose that brother over me,
Mm-hmm.
that's just kind of how it was. And I think also with my situation, besides the fact that my certain family members said my mother was jealous of me and so forth, I'm light
Mm-hmm.
skinned, of course. My mother's darker than me a little bit. She's still light, but she's darker than me. My father is
Mm-hmm.
brown skinned. He's a dark skinned man, but I favor more so my father than my mom. When people see my mom, they think I look like her because she's lighter, but I
Mm-hmm.
favor my father and his mom. And my mother always said that, like, you look just like your dad, or you look like your grandma, talking about my father's mom. She would say
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And I don't know if that was a good or a bad thing. To this day, I still don't know if she really was saying that in a good way or a bad
Mm-hmm.
way. She would just say that. And, but the funny thing is, with my brother that she favors or whatever, a lot of people would say that he looked just like my dad, and it's because he's dark skinned, but he
Right.
actually looks like my uncle. He looks like my uncle, which is my mom's brother. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if that plays a part, like why. I don't know if it's because he don't look as much like my dad. Maybe I don't know really what it is, but
Right.
I definitely, she, but you know what? And even the affection part, she still lacks affection. Some things happen to my brother, and as an adult, and my brother acts like it never happened. Like my mother just like she did, like she cared, but my mother never cared. My brother was in the hospital for a
Right.
while in a coma. I think he
Wow.
fell his head. My mother never went to go see him. None of that stuff like that. That's where the affection and compassion kicks in. But she didn't give him that, but he doesn't
Right.
he doesn't really see that because him and my mom are very, very much alike, you know. So I don't think he really sees that lack of affection there. But she will buy you materialistically. She'll buy stuff for you, she'll send you money and so forth, because she thinks that's making up for the things that she's done wrong in the past. You know what I
See,
mean?
I can't. We don't even get that. I mean, I'm gonna say to some of us because at one point in time she had, the children that she favored, but at one point in time I couldn't even get $15 for bus fare. And that was to work so I
Mm-mm-mm.
could take care of my own children. Because she controls all of my father's funds. And
Mm-hmm.
she makes sure to distribute it to who she feels distributing it to you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I dealt with that for a while, and that came from me having to take care of myself and live on the streets and stuff like that because I could not seek that help because it was at the end of the day, it was her decision and her choice whether my father could help us or not, and
Right,
like
right,
with
right.
you, with me being light skinned, I am the only daughter that she has that's this color. And if I'm gonna say my little brother, he is somewhat like lighter than me, but we don't favor each other. And I'm the only child that she has that looks like I do, and there's a lot of controversy around that growing up, which kind of explain a little bit of the direct dislike that she held for me, with my grandmother telling me the fact that I might not have been my father's child, that my mom,
Mm.
she had a situation and she ended up getting pregnant, and that stemmed around a lot of the controversy of me being light skinned. And I got teased from my mother from my color. She used to, light, bright, damn near white, and I can never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
She called me, my little Mexican hop and bean, my little Puerto Rican, this, that, and the third. And I could not understand the fact that my dad is about as black as they come, and she's a milk chocolate color. So it was like, why are you, I'm going to say, singling me out? With you got all of these kids, but I'm the only one that you single out as far as my appearance and how I look, the texture of my hair, my facial features, my skin tone, how I act, my ways and my actions. And it's like I said, as I got older, and a lot of things started coming out, a lot of things started to make a lot of sense. I started to feel like,
Right.
what, maybe my grandmother was telling the truth. Maybe I
Mm-hmm.
am a child that was born out of wedlock, from my mom. And she, with that resentment of me being a reminder all the time of her unfaithfulness, her being deceitful towards my dad. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, it's just, yeah.
I had, I always knew I was my father's child. Even though he was darker than me, I always knew, you just feel that connection, I always
Right,
knew. But I heard things, because I'm so light, and I heard little
right,
things, but I mean, I always knew. I did my own DNA
right,
test. I did my own DNA test,
right,
not to find out if my father was my father, but I was trying to figure out what my DNA was, my genes or
right.
whatever, and it still
Your
connected.
gene makeup.
It connected me to my father still, and that
Right,
it wasn't even a father daughter DNA test, so that
right.
was neither here or there. But I went through that as well. um what I was going to say, as far as like our moms go, you know um a woman on here, let me post her comment right quick. She said, my mom always responds emotionally and passive aggressively.
Mm.
So that's something as well that I went through too.
Yep.
The passive aggressiveness, you know,
Yes, that was my
and
mom.
the emotional responses and passive
Hmm.
aggressiveness. When my daughter, I have a daughter that just turned 14, and sometimes I see myself slipping into my mom's ways where I'm kind of
Hmm.
cold, like, and then I have to come
Right.
out of it. I have to come out of it like, no, you're not gonna be like that
Yeah,
to
don't
your
do
daughter.
her.
Don't
Right,
do her like
right.
that, like don't
Hmm.
don't 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 treat your daughter how you was mistreated. And that was my soul.
Right.
When I found out I was pregnant with a little girl, I was like, yes, like I'm going to show my daughter what I needed to be shown,
It was crazy
like
because of the abuse that I went through and the things that I went through with my mother. My mom didn't want her daughters. She did not want girls. She wanted
mm,
boys. She was really angry at the fact that she had daughters, and she kept trying until she had more boys. And she used to tell us, "You lucky that I had y'all first, and I didn't have the boys, because that I did, y'all wouldn't even be here." And that's the attitude that I developed. I did not want a daughter. So when I found out I was
mm-hmm,
having a little girl, I was distraught. Like, I was so emotionally affected by it. But then I had came to terms and accepted the fact that, she's here, she's coming, and what you could do is, instead of resenting the fact that you had her, show her the things that you didn't have, give her the love that you didn't have, and just show her
mm-hmm.
something different,
Right,
show her
right,
some,
right,
yeah.
right. Right. When I first found out I was pregnant with my daughter, I'm gonna be absolutely honest. I was getting ready to have an abortion, and
Mm,
I found out the process of doing that, because at this time I was a single mom, and I had thought that
right,
I had thought that their dad had passed away. It's a long story. I don't feel like getting into that, right? But I thought he
of
was
course.
dead, And in any case, I was gonna have an abortion, and that was the first time in my mind I ever thought about killing a pregnancy, like, ending a
Right.
pregnancy. So I went there, and the process that they go through, you have to do the paperwork and so forth. And before you actually have an abortion, they put an ultrasound
They
on.
they
I don't
do
know.
the ultrasound. Yeah,
Oh, so you know about that. So they put this
I do.
ultrasound on, and I was like, and they was like, well, this is a girl in there. And I was like, a girl. And
Right,
I was like, it's a girl? Because I already had boys. And I was like, a girl? For real? Are you sure? And they was like, yeah. And I was like, I just got up and I said, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I just got up off that bed and I was like,
right,
I can't. They said, you sure? Like, they was in the process. They was going to give me the
right.
injection, to put me out. I was
Yeah.
going to for anesthesia. And I was like, no, I said, I can't do this. I can't do it. No. So I got up and I left, and I just left out of there. And I was distraught as well at that point. But at the same time, I was
Yeah.
having mixed feelings. I was having mixed feelings. And as
Right.
I went home, I walked home, I was crying and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I just didn't know really what to think and what to do,
Right.
because I'm used to having boys and I really love the
Hmm.
boys, and I was
Right.
scared as well to have a daughter because I didn't want to mistreat
Right.
my daughter. So
Right.
but then I was like, you know what? That's when that hit me, like, I'm gonna be a better mom
Right.
to my daughter.
Right.
Like, that's it.
Right.
I'm gonna show her what I did not receive, and I'm gonna give her
Right.
that. And to this day, that's how I am with my daughter. You know, I do my best to listen to her, to talk to her. She frustrates me at
Mhm.
times. You know, she really does. You know,
Uh, I can
because
agree.
yeah, she frustrates me at times because you know when I was 14, I was a lot more advanced than her because I was already out on my own, living in the streets, you know, doing
Me
stuff. And
too.
my daughter's very, very dependent because she don't have to
Yep.
deal with that kind of stuff. My daughter has never had to be out on her
Yes.
own. My daughter don't go out and have to buy her own food. She doesn't have to do all that stuff. So she's real dependent on
Right.
me. And
And then it's
sometimes
also
I'd
the
be like,
emotional part too. It's like the
mm-hmm,
emotional
it
part as
is.
well. 'Cause, like, we're not used to that, you know. So it's like, oh my gosh, this girl, she crying again. Okay, what is it now?
Yeah. Yeah,
Come
it's just
on.
it was just a lot for me, you know. I'm like,
Right.
like I have to do hair. Like I'm kind of like, what the heck? Like
Right.
I don't know. It was just a different experience, you know. Like,
Right.
and I didn't really know how to love a little girl. You know, I didn't know
Right.
how to. I didn't know how to because I
Right.
wasn't a loved little girl by my mother. You understand what I'm saying? So, but I
My phone is
learned.
dying.
Oh. I learned though. I learned how to love, you know, and that's what I try to instill into my daughter all the time, you know, how to be
Right.
patient, how to be kind, how to love, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like because my mother clearly had no patience. My mother still is not kind. My mother still lacks that love, you know? So I had to
Yep.
definitely teach my baby those things because my mother didn't teach it to me, you know? And like I said, there comes a time where we have to break those
Right.
curses. We have to break that cycle, you know. And it definitely started with my firstborn child. But when my daughter came about, I was like,
Mhm.
my daughter's not going to be how I was, not going to be
See,
treated
my
how I
daughter
was.
was my second child, so it's like I had my son first, and then I had my daughter. So it was like
Mm-hmm.
with my son, I was like, yes, you know, whew, you know, that first pregnancy. Okay, I dodged that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then then the second pregnancy came about, and then it was like, okay, wake up call. You got a daughter on the way. So now all the things that you've been avoiding and all of the memories and stuff like that, it all came back. You know, because me myself
Right.
being a female, it brought me back to all the things that I was going through, all the memories, all the hurt and stuff like that. And you know, with my mother being as dysfunctional as she was, you know, they didn't have a grandmother because I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
a mother, you know,
Yes.
and
You
it's
said
still
because
hard
you
because
didn't have.
she's 15. Yeah, you know, I didn't have a mother, so you know, how could I expect her? She could not be a mother to me. How could I possibly expect her to be a grandmother to my children?
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right. Exactly. Excuse me. Exactly. We can't expect them to be actual, you know, a mother to your children. It's
right?
just not really going to happen like that. It's not going to
It's
happen like
not.
that.
You know,
As much as we want it to happen like that, it's not going to happen like that. And
it's not at all.
it's very sad. You know,
Not.
it's very disheartening. It's very, very disheartening. Um, you know, yesterday was my firstborn's birthday, and
Hmm.
I was so
Happy born
excited.
day to him.
Yes, I was so excited. I woke up very emotional. I was having lots of flashbacks from when I was first pregnant, you know,
Right.
some of the things we just spoke about. I thought about things that came to my mind was, you know, I had him on Mother's Day. And it was like, I kind of was looking at my arm, looking at the scars on my arm, things I went through while I was pregnant with him.
Yeah.
I cried, you know, a few times yesterday. Very, very
Yeah.
emotional. And my son's
I mean, because
19 now.
he's here. You know, he's
Yeah,
here,
he's
and it's a
here.
possibility. It's a possibility he could not have made it. You know, from the experience that you went through. You know.
Exactly, exactly. And girl, like when my mother kicked me in my stomach, my son, they said water was surrounding my son's brain. They thought my son was gonna come out with issues, you know, and he's perfectly
Right.
fine. He's fine. And
Right.
I cried yesterday, you know, girl, let me tell you, I'm a self-employed, and business has been
Right.
so slow for me. So slow. I have not received a stimulus check. I haven't received my taxes, none of that stuff like that. So I've been grinding
Right.
super hard just so I can make sure my son can receive that one thing he really been asking for, which was a daggone Xbox, So I got him that. Yeah,
Right.
so I got him that Xbox, right? And when I seen his face, like I just wanted to cry because he was so happy, and I was like, oh my God, like, he's so happy, and I just felt so good because I was like, yes, I finally made him so happy, like yes,
Right.
because he's
Right.
been going through a lot these last, 6, 7 months. He's been going through some things. So I'm like,
Right.
oh, he's happy, and I was like, and that made me feel so good that he was so happy. But
And
it
it
also
should.
yeah, it also made me emotional because I'm like, Mother's Day's tomorrow. Like, I want to call my mom, I want to be able to say,
Right.
hey, mom, I love you, happy Mother's Day. But I
Right.
can't do that. I can't do that because once I welcome her back into my life, that's when the toxicity is going to come back in.
I was
You
about
understand
to
what I'm
say that
saying?
toxicity is gonna
That's what,
start pouring in.
that's when it's going to come back
Yes.
in. Excuse me, I'm all crying. But
Girl,
that's
don't
when it's
feel
going to
bad
come.
because like I
That's,
feel like that because my firstborn's birthday is tomorrow, and
I
that's Mother's Day,
know.
right? So it's like
This is,
it's gonna be so emotional for me because not only, because like I said, her toxicity did not end, when I became grown and moved out of her house. It continued on,
it continues.
because
Yes, it continues.
it continued on, and he was a witness because he was affected by the changes that happened in my life because of what I went through when I was younger. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
with him about to be 16 years old, it's like it's like a bittersweet thing because it's like, oh my God, my
Right,
baby
right.
about to be 16. But at the end of the day, it's like, oh my God, my baby is 16 years old, and I think about the things that he's went through and how he is surviving himself as a little human,
Mm-hmm.
and
Right,
it's
right,
gonna be so
right.
emotional tomorrow, girl. I'm gonna be just like you tomorrow. I'm just be all
Yes, it's so emotional. It's emotional.
it
People,
is. Oh
it's
yes.
very emotional.
It is. Oh my
And
gosh. It
it's so
is.
emotional. And it's like, and then you think like, especially if he was like a single mom,
I
at one
was.
point, and I
I
was
was, and it's
too.
crazy.
I,
'Cause I lived in my mother's house, but not only was I enduring the mistreatment, I didn't have the type of mother where, oh well, you need to go to work, I'll keep him, oh well, you need to
mm-hmm,
go to school, I'll keep him, wherever I went, he was right there. When I went to school, he was there. When I had to go to work, I had to find a way to pay for, babysitting and stuff like that. I didn't do the government assistance and stuff like that. I did it on my own. His father wasn't involved at all, so excuse me, I was taking care of him by myself, and it hurt the most because the help that I could have had wasn't there. The
mm-hmm.
support system that I thought that I could have was not there, because you're sitting here and like just like your mother, it's a materialistic thing, you know. Well, I bought a pack of Pampers, that's enough. I mean, thank you for the pack of diapers, but I still need to go to work. I still need to go to school so I can better myself, so I can take care of my child,
Right,
and
right,
I didn't
right,
have
right,
that. Right.
right.
It's just painful, and it brings up a lot of memories, but it's like I'm excited.
Yeah, you're
Tomorrow is
excited, but it's
coming up,
still,
and it's coming up fast.
you know, I don't, another thing, I don't normally celebrate Mother's Day. And I put together this event for tomorrow, a virtual event for Mother's Day. And
Mhm.
because I kind of, I'm feeling I think it's because I feel real emotional, and
Right.
I just said I'm gonna do something for the moms, so that they can reach out to
Right.
other moms and help them feel good on this day. Because I
Right.
never celebrate Mother's Day. I never have, and I always said I'm never
I
gonna do it.
haven't either.
And I still really am not celebrating it tomorrow. I'm just doing something virtually,
You're just doing a
But
recognition. That's all. It's like a
yeah, recognition
recognition
is
ceremonial thing for moms.
yes for the
Right.
for the moms, right? Because a reason why I never celebrated Mother's Day is because I think because I've always been hurt. I've always been
Right.
hurt on Mother's Day, and every day in between then I was just always kind of
Right.
hurt. You know,
Right.
I dealt with, not really having a good mom, I also
Right.
dealt with being a single mom, so it was just kind of like,
Yep. It
just
was
not
like
really,
Mother's Day. What is that?
yeah,
Like
it just,
Mother's Day is a celebration for me every day because it's
yeah, I
also
do
being a
this
single mother.
all the
You know.
time. I do this all the
Right.
time,
And I don't
all the
need somebody
time.
to tell me that I'm a good mom because I know I'm a good
Yeah, it's just kind of, and then it also, yeah, and it kind of like, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's someone slapping my face sometimes when they're telling me that. Like,
Right.
then
Like
did you
Happy
not see
Mother's
that I've
Day.
been,
So you didn't see
like,
me yesterday, the day before
yeah, you
that, the
didn't see
day
me
before that.
right, right. You didn't
Right.
see
Right.
me not being able to sleep at night times because I'm
Right.
overtime grinding, triple time grinding, or you didn't see me not being able to sleep at nighttime. So I'm telling you that something's wrong with my child or whatever it might be. Like, nah,
Right.
I've been doing this for years. Like,
Right.
please tell me I'm happy for you and I'm proud of you on another day
Yes.
besides Mother's Day.
Right.
Tell me
And
that on
just
some other
continue
day.
and just, tell me to
Just
continue
show it to
to do
me
the things. Right. Continue to do the
and
things that you
show it.
see me doing. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because just telling me is not enough. I need to feel it because I
Right.
lack that type of affection. So I need to feel it. I need
Right.
to know for sure
Right.
that you mean what you're saying. You know what I
Right. And
mean?
you say what you
So
mean.
exactly, exactly. So that's why I don't know. Like I just really never did the whole Mother's Day thing because I kind of feel like I don't know, like it's not really meaningful like that when
Right.
people do tell you Happy Mother's Day. It's like they're just saying like they say Merry
Right.
Christmas, like you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
to me it's
Like
kind of like the Black History Month thing. It was like, why you
yeah,
want to tell me, oh, it's Black History just this month? Like to me, we celebrate us and our being every day of the year. Like
every
what?
day,
Why is it just
every
this
day.
month? Right.
Yeah, right, right, right. But I don't know. I guess I'm just emotional, you know,
Right.
emotional. My firstborn birthday, Mother's Day. I'm thinking about a
Right.
lot of
It's like,
stuff,
oh God, so much.
Yeah, it's so much. It's so much. It's so much.
Right.
I wish I had a mother to talk to, but I don't have that, a mother
Right.
to talk to. Like, so
Like only if.
only if, right, right. So let me ask you something. Since, because you said it's been since 2016, I think, right? Since you,
Yes, it's
uh,
been 2000 since
how,
I've seen her.
what about talk to her?
Well, I talked to her recently, and that is the reason why I had decided to just completely cut her off
Mm-hmm.
because I spoke to her recently, and the conversation it really was not a conversation for me and her. I called to talk to my dad about a situation that was occurring, and I told you she controls a majority of his funds, and certain situations. And it had nothing to do with money. It just had something to do with something that belonged to him that he had set up for the whole family.
Right.
And I was denied access to that at a point in time. And I called him and talked to him about it, and she had her foot and her say in what was going on. I don't have a problem with that. But my dad had a direct order that he gave in that situation. And her actual response was no. And her attitude to me was, oh, you're just jealous because this, that, and the third, that person had this and that person had that. And I had to tell her, to be honest with you, at this point, it's beyond um the situation that we're talking about. Right now it's just about the fact that I see that you're upset because you want to control what is going on and you have no control. You want to hurt
Mm-hmm.
me by telling me that you notice that I have a problem with the fact that this child and this child has this and this child had that and I don't have it. That just
Mm-hmm.
brings me back to the fact of why your kids are segregated the way they are now. And
Mm-hmm.
she went on with that. Well, I don't care. And my dad told her to take care of the situation. And her attitude was, well, I do it when I feel like it, when I'm ready to. And that's how she's
Mm-hmm.
always been. You know, and I just got to the point to where right now, I told my dad, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done trying to try. I'm done trying to have a relationship with her. I'm done being naive about what I know is going on. I see what's going on. I know what's going on, especially with the fact that I'm an adult now. I have my own children. I can see what you're doing. You are very passively aggressive, and you have always been like that since we were children. And I'm not going to continue to subject myself to that also hurt my children because of course they want to speak to their grandmother. Of course they want to have a relationship with you. But at the end of the day, my children are very aware. They're very awake, and they have the same attitude to where no, because I feel like if you're going to mistreat my mom, you're going to mistreat us too.
Mm-hmm.
Because how could you deny the thing that brought us into this world? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And then they also becoming very aware of how they was treated as young kids. My kids were mistreated other than her other grandchildren. My children were treated separately in a lot of situations. When it came to the love, it came to the tension and stuff like that. So it's like, all with all that coming up, I was like, I will not do that, and I recently remarried in January. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
with that understanding that I have with, me and my husband and things that we talk about, I just feel like I needed to have a lot of closure and a lot of things that was going on in my life in my past and to decide to make the decision to not to continue accept certain things in my life from this point on. I'm going to build around the things that make my family happy and the things that does
Mm-hmm.
not has to be destroyed, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
she's one of them. I just decided I am done. I can't do it anymore. I'm not going to try to keep being a mediation within a situation that requires both of our energy. I'm not going to do it.
How long ago was that? Like how recently
That
was that?
conversation,
Yeah,
that was last week.
last week.
The conversation, yep, that conversation happened last week.
Mm, mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm. Um, how do you feel now, like with a week gone by and you just kind of disconnected yourself from her?
Okay, it was mixed feelings because I love my parents, regardless to whom or what, and the things that had occurred with us growing up. Because, like I said, I'm very aware of things around me. I'm very understanding of most things that some people can't understand. And I grew to accept, well, not accept. I grew to understand, that my mother was a young parent, and that she lacked a lot of skills and qualifications that she needed in order to be a productive mother.
Mm-hmm.
So with her and my mom, of course, I still love her. I love her dearly, you know, and
Yes.
that's what hurts. That's what created the hurt part in my decision because I want my mom to be a part of my life. I want to experience a lot of different things, with my mother. I want to be able to mend, and move forward and have a healthy relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
But the hurt also turned into, you know what? I don't even care because I had to think back on how long and how many years I have taken the first step towards
Mm-hmm.
bettering our relationship and getting no results, or getting the same result, and she's always had this, oh, well, don't hate me because you ain't me. And that's her saying. She would literally say to her mouth, don't hate me because you ain't me. And if you don't like it, fuck it. Just, oh, well, if you don't like what I'm saying, don't talk to me. If you don't like how I'm acting, don't be around me. And that has always been her attitude, and it still is to this day. And
Yeah.
I just, it hurt, but I'm content with the decision that I made because it was time.
Mm-hmm. As long as you're content, and as long as you're content and you feel at peace right now, at that point, that's all that
I
really
am.
matters. As
I
long as you
am. I
feel
feel
at
like I
peace.
am at peace because I felt like I was hurting myself, dragging that out. I felt like I was
Mm-hmm.
hurting myself, dragging out the need within my heart and my spirit to want to have the connection with my mother.
Yes.
And it hurt to continue to feel that way on an everyday basis. Me going through things and wanted to just call my mother up and talk to her, about certain situations like when I was getting married. I had to
Mm-hmm.
call my mother and talk to her, and I made sure that the whole day that I was getting ready for my wedding, I was on a video call with my mother, because I wanted her to be a part of that. And it's like if
Right, right.
she can't see, if she couldn't see that I wanted that for the both of us, then it's no need for me to try to help her see anything furthermore because she doesn't want to, you know.
Yeah.
But I am
That's so
content.
unfortunate. That's so
Right.
unfortunate. That's so unfortunate. Um, Me and my mother, I haven't seen her, like I said, since like 2008,
Right.
or 2009. But I think it was 2000, early 2009 actually was the last time I seen her, like January or February 2009. I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
But me and her haven't spoke though since I believe 2016. Yeah,
Wow,
I think it was
that's crazy.
2016. It was when I released my first book and I went on a book tour.
Okay.
It was then because she was bothered by what I wrote in my book, you know, and it was other things as well.
Right.
It was other things as well, like that played a major part of us not speaking. And that
Right.
other thing was my brother, you know, something he said that wasn't true or whatever. And she
Right.
just went off the deep end and said those things I said, like she hated me, she hope I die in the plane on my way back home, and the things she said about my children. So since then, I haven't spoke to her. You know, I cut her
Right.
off. And she even went on social media and started like making lies about me and stuff, like some horrible things she
Wow.
said. And it was horrible. The things she said about me were horrible. And and I was like, wow, like how can she do something like that? But I knew, like, you know,
Right.
that's kind of my mom. That's how my mother is. You know, she does things like that. She says very, very nasty lies about people when she's mad at them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
that's basically what happened. And she even went and she told my ex-husband at the time, well, at the time I was married to him. So this was like 4.5 years ago or whatever. Like, anyways, at the time I was married to him, and she went and told him some lies to the point where he started questioning me and thinking like what she was saying was true because it's
Girl,
my
that's
mother.
crazy. My mother
Yeah.
did the same thing to my first husband.
Yeah, because it was my mother, so he believed her. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so that caused a strain in me and his marriage. What really, I honestly think he kind of wanted to do him anyway. You know what I mean? But that
Right.
was
That's just
the
helped.
reason. Yeah, that was the
Right.
reason, and he just kind of went astray from me and our children. You know what I mean? And now
Right.
we're not together no more, and I'm not married to him no more. You know what I mean? But my mother was the cause of that. She went and lied and said some stuff that was not even true, but then told him later that she was mad, so she just said that to him. You know, and it was
Wow.
just, yeah, because he told me, he called me and said, "Oh, your mom called me and just
Mhm.
told me, you know, that she was just mad and she was lying about whatever it was that she had said." But I'm like, wow,
Right.
like she put it all on social media, all kind of stuff. I'm like, so I haven't talked to her
Right.
since like I haven't talked to her since at least 2000 and I think 16 or 15, I don't,
Mm.
16, 2016, you know, and I'm still content, you know, I'm very, very content. I feel much more at
Right.
peace. You know what I mean? That I don't have to deal with certain things from her and so forth, you know. Um, but again, I do love her. You know what I mean? I love her.
Right. Of course.
At times I think about her, you know, but I refuse to subject myself to that type of energy.
To
You
that.
know what I mean?
Right.
To that type of
Right.
energy. And I won't allow my children to be hurt by it either. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And
Because my
that's
children
my
are,
main thing.
yeah, my children are used to love. They're used to love. They're not used to chaos, arguing,
Right.
conflict, all that stuff like that. So I won't bring it around my children, you know?
Right.
Um, so now the next thing is, what are we supposed to really do to help our mothers? You know, like I said earlier, like we have to, you know, bring about the situation at hand to our mothers, but how can we
Right.
help them without having to disconnect ourselves from them? Because I don't know if that's really helping. I don't think that's really helping my mother. Like me disconnecting myself
Right.
from my mother, I know it's not helping her. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like it's helping me. It's helping me.
Right.
But and you have to love
And
yourself
that's most
first.
important.
Yeah, exactly. You
Yep.
got to love
That's
yourself
most
first. But
important.
then I sit here and I think all the time, what can be done to help her? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because she's gonna be a senior citizen. You know what I mean? Soon, like, and she should not still be acting like that. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
something
because you're
has to
gonna
be
be
done.
alone, you know. And I think
Exactly.
I said that on my social media. I had actually put that up there with the fact that I say, you can have that I don't care attitude, but at the end of the day, you have to think about the fact that you're driving everybody around you away from you, and at some point in
Yeah.
time, you are going to have to face the person that you should have faced from the beginning, which is yourself. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. I do. I feel you 100%. So I'm thinking, for the moms out there who currently have their children. I'm talking about children, not adults. Even the ones
Mm-hmm.
who have adults, this goes out to you too. To the mothers out there who have children, and that what we're talking about applies to you. It's time for you to start fixing yourself. It's
Yes.
time for you to start changing your ways. It's time for you to look at yourself in the mirror and recognize your wrongs and start correcting
Yes.
them, because it's never too late to correct those wrongs. It's never too late,
Right.
you know? And you need to look in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm wrong. I need to be a better mother, for
Yes.
my
And I said
children.
that, like,
For Yes,
as long
you
as your
have
heart is
to.
beating, you have a chance. As long as your heart is beating, you have a chance of redemption. And take that chance. Don't
Hmm.
wait till it's too late, because you have some people out there whose mothers have passed away, and they haven't had an opportunity to even bring that forward to them, or to make amends,
Right.
or have closure.
Right. That kind of happened with my great grandmother and my grandmother. It wasn't until she was on her deathbed that my great grandmother, finally really had a chance to speak
Mm-hmm.
after a lot of years. I think my grandma said it was like over like 15, 20 years or something. I'm not sure,
Mm.
but it took them a long time. And my grandmother was the only one that was there for her on her deathbed, for my great grandma.
Mm.
So, and they was able to make amends, like, unfortunately, on her deathbed when she was getting ready to pass. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that
It
at
should
all.
not.
So
Right.
so if you're watching this and you're a mother and you know that you're toxic, if you have nocuous ways, it's never too late
Right.
to change that, because you do not want to put that on your child, and your child grows up the same way you are. You know,
Right. You have
your
to break that
purpose,
cycle.
yes, you have to break it. You have to break it. And you should be a better person to your child on top of that. So if you
Hmm.
went through
Right.
rape, molestation, mental abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, none of those four things are right. So don't allow your
Right.
children to go through that. Don't allow it, because you know the pain
Right.
you went through. You know what you went through. You know how
Right.
you feel right now. So don't
Right.
do that to your children or your child,
Right. And
you know?
if you have them similar experiences, like, or even worse, like, it's not your fault, like what happened to you. You know what I mean? And like what you have
Right.
gone through, even though it hurts, it is okay to forgive. Not for them,
Hmm.
but
But
for
for
you.
yourself,
You know what I
for
mean?
yourself.
Yeah, like, cause now, right? Because forgiving doesn't mean that you retract and go back to the abusive relationships or accept the abusive behaviors. You know what I mean? This just means that you will be able to put your mind, your body, and your spirit in a place of healing. And doing that allows you to live a healthy life, like to live, love, and laugh. You know what I mean? Like, make the
Hmm.
proper
Hmm.
decisions, that will affect your life and the people around you. Because being in a toxic situations and holding on to those damages, like they have done, also affects the possibilities of you having a healthy relationship or having a healthy life in your future. Like, yes, that pain, it will hurt, but it will be there lying dormant within you. But being forgiven also allows you to move forward, because the change starts with you. And
Exactly. Exactly.
right.
Exactly. Exactly. The shit starts with you, just like my book says.
Yes.
It starts with you.
Yes.
It all starts with you from the beginning to the end. It starts
To
with
the
you
end.
to the
Yes.
end, and you must take accountability for self. You must
Yes,
take
you
action
do.
for self first. And
Yes.
don't take out your problems or feel like someone else is the reason for your mishaps or whatever. It's you.
Yes.
Start with you. Start with you. You
Yes.
know, and like she said, like, if you know that you're going through those certain things, you know that you're hurt, you know
Mm-hmm.
um do what you have to do to correct it, you know
Yes.
do
Do
what
what
you
you
have to
have to do
do.
to heal.
Yes, do it and do it now. Don't wait, do
Yes.
it
Do
now. If
not
you're
wait.
listening, doing it now, do it right now.
Yes.
Start working on yourself right now, today. Don't wait
Yes.
no longer, because your children or your child will end up affected by your actions.
Yes.
And you know deep down inside that you don't want your child to feel how you feel. So don't
Yes.
do it to your child or your children. Don't do it to them.
Right.
You
Don't
know,
do it.
it, don't do it. It starts now and it starts today. because
Yes.
Mother's Day is tomorrow. Just because you gave
Yes.
birth to a child, like my father said, does not mean that you're a good
That
mom.
that's not me. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so everybody, no, all this whole Happy Mother's Day thing stuff, no, I just don't,
Mm-mm.
I don't agree with it. I just don't. I don't. A lot of mothers get praised on Mother's Day, and they're not even a good mother. You know,
Yep.
um, unfortunately, they're not. They're not the best mom that they can be. And
Hmm.
they show their worst instead of their best self. To their
Right.
children, and that just needs to be addressed. It does. It does. And I'm glad that you came on to address that with me. There was something else I
Thank
wanted to
you.
ask you. Yes, there's something else I wanted to ask you. I know I wrote it down. I wrote it down because I had questions, when I realized that you and I had some things in common. I said, I got to write down some questions. Um, let me see. Let me find it. Okay. Now that you disconnected yourself, this is something I didn't even really give you a heads up. Like, now that you disconnected yourself from your mom, right? And you said you feel at peace. I was writing it down when you was
Hmm.
talking, right? And you said you feel at peace now. You said you feel at peace now. Where do you see yourself with your mom at, like, 4 years from now? Because I told you I haven't talked to my mom in like 4.5 years or something like that. Where do you see yourself with your mom at 4 years from now? Do you plan on making amends with her again, or keeping yourself away? Because like I said, we need to find a way to heal our mothers, because it is somewhat our responsibility too as adults.
Hmm.
We are still their children, but we're also adults
Yep.
now, and we should be able to tell our parents, hey, like, you need help. Do you need to talk? You know what I mean? Like, is there
Right.
anything that can be done to help you? Now, of course, if they push us away, or if they continue to be disrespectful or disgusting toward us, of course we have all rights to just, you know what, okay, that's it.
Right.
This is why I wasn't talking to you last week. This is why I'm not gonna talk to you now. You know what I mean? But
See,
what
honestly, I have that type of mother. I have the type of mother where if you don't take the first step, she won't even think about taking a step, you know. And like I said,
mm-hmm,
I have always um been the person to take the first step, you know. Even with the phone calls, I asked her, you know, well, mom, why you don't call me? Oh, because you always have to excuse. So it's like, okay, well, you know, I'm staying at home now, so why you don't call me, you know? But in a couple years, honestly, it that's hard to speak on because even though I say that I'm done talking to her, I know with the type of heart that I have,
mm-hmm,
eventually I would try again, you know.
yeah,
Eventually I would try to open up a window to where we can get to a point to where we're healing. But I think before it gets to that, a lot of things are going to have to be said. And I mean said, I don't mean talked about, you know. And
mm-hmm,
she's always been the type of person that doesn't care to hear about the things that she's done because she
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
blame herself. She's the
That's
type
the
of person that
denial.
never takes she's the type of person that never takes responsibility for her actions. So I think it's going to take just more than me, you know, rejecting her as my mother, and for her to notice around her that it can't be every last child I have. You know, it has to be me. You know,
Mm-hmm,
somewhere I have to take responsibility for the things I have done and for the reason my children are the way that they are. You know, so
mm-hmm.
I would say in a couple of years, I don't know where I would see her. I'm still going to continually try to make it to put the bridge there for her
Right.
to meet me halfway.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see, because I've tried for a very long time, and this is like a long time coming for, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody who knows me knows, for me to make a decision like this, I have to be tired and sick and tired of being sick and tired, you know, and I
Right.
am, you know. So I think that I don't know, you know. I think it's really up to her. I mean, because she knows. It's not like she doesn't know. She knows, because I'm not the only one telling her the things that I've been telling her recently. You know, like I said, my brothers,
Yes.
you know, I have a lot of other siblings that's hurt, you know. So I don't
That's
know.
so unfortunate. That's just
Right.
unfortunate. That's unfortunate. And you said your mom has bipolar disorder, correct?
Yes.
Was she diagnosed with
Yes.
that? Yeah, my
She
mother
will
too.
not go to she will not go to the doctor. But like I say, you know, with the knowledge that I have and me doing the knowledge on the things myself, I know, you know, that she's bipolar, like she's manic bipolar. It's not a regular
hmm
bipolar. It's a, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
she has
Manic
outbursts.
depressant. It's manic
Yes,
depressant.
manic
Yeah,
depression. Yep. Mhm.
yeah, yeah. That's very
Yep.
unfortunate. That's so unfortunate. And I
I think she just got to a point in her life. I don't mean to cut you off, but I think what
mhm,
happened with my mother is she got to a point in her life where she created this protective bubble
mhm,
and she refuses to step outside of it because it's out
yeah,
of her comfort zone. And
mhm,
I think that that is what keeps her from moving forward when it comes to healing herself to heal others around her, you
yeah.
know? Yeah.
Goodness, goodness, goodness. So, how
Right.
do you feel now after speaking about all this?
I mean, I feel good. I mean, because I think this will
Yeah,
be the first time that I've actually speaking openly out about this, you know, to the world or, you know, to someone other than my siblings, you know. And I feel
yeah,
good because I feel like this segment here has been very enlightening and it's going to help a lot of mothers to
mhm,
be or, you know, young children who have went through, you know, similar traumatic experiences to trying to find a way of peace, a way of acceptance or a way to actually get away from the toxicity and to start the path to a healthy life so they can build healthy relationships and you know and move forward.
yes. Because this conversation was definitely needed. You know, it
Yes.
was needed between us both. It was needed for the
Yes.
viewers. You know, it was
Yes.
definitely needed because there's people out there that I mean that really some people think that they're the only ones going through it. You know,
They
and they're
do.
really not.
They do.
Yeah,
They
and
do.
they're really not. They're not the only ones going through it. And if
You
you
are
are
not
watching this,
alone. You are not alone.
yeah, yeah, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone at all. If you are watching this, I am a certified life coach and I specialize in relationship coaching. And if you do need to speak, I am here. You know, I do have um every month I have a free session for clients, you know, on any day that you choose. And I'm here if you do need to speak to someone, you know, and need some coaching when it comes to, you know, self-love or love within, you know, people
Yes.
around you or your family and so forth. I'm here for you for your relationship issues and
Yes.
so forth.
People,
So
please take advantage of that. Please take advantage of
yes,
what she is offering because
yes,
it really hurts more. It really hurts more to hold that and move with it versus you
hmm
being afraid or being embarrassed to talk to
being
somebody about it. There's
embarrassed.
nothing wrong with that at all.
Being embarrassed. A lot of people are embarrassed or ashamed. They're either
Yes,
ashamed or they're embarrassed, so they don't want to reach out. They don't want to coach or they don't want a
right,
counselor. They feel like
right,
they shouldn't have a counselor. You know, oh,
right.
black people don't need therapy. Black people don't need
Yep,
counseling.
you took
Black
it
people
right
don't
out of
need a
my
coach,
mouth.
you know.
Yes, we do.
So yes, yes, we definitely do. So if you do need that, I am here. And like I said, I have free sessions once a month, you know, and it's on any day that you choose. You just gotta give me 24-hour notice, you know, and I am here. But it was definitely, definitely, definitely great having you on. um
Yes.
we have a lot of feedback. A lot of people have been commenting on YouTube during the live. So if you do want to go check out the comments, you would have to watch the whole video
I
because it comes up
will.
during the live. And
Yes.
we have people that commented on Facebook as well. But definitely check
Okay.
it out. You know, just a lot of love. I couldn't really go through it all because it's just a lot of comments, you know.
Right.
Um, but I appreciate you. We both appreciate you
Thank
all for tuning
you.
in and you know, just giving us feedback and everything on this day
Yes.
before Mother's Day. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time for our Mother's Day affair that we're having, y'all. It will be myself and three other sisters and possibly a surprise guest. You just have to watch and see. And we will be talking and, just showing love to all those wonderful mothers out there. And I will
Yes.
be
So don't
doing,
miss the
yes,
love.
yes, that love, that love. I will be doing a giveaway for, yes, I'm giving a giveaway, a cash app giveaway for $40 for whoever's watching. There's going to be something. I'm trying to still think about what kind of contest or whatever I might do, but someone will win $40 tomorrow in the cash app, and you can use it for whatever you want. I know it's not a lot, but it might be a lot to some people, so
Right.
please tune in and check us out and, just vibe with us tomorrow during this Mother's Day affair. I will be having another one
Yes.
on Father's Day as well. The guys, y'all are having
Mm.
one next. Yes, got to
Mm-hmm.
congratulate those good daddies out there.
Yes.
Those good daddies out there. Those, especially those hard-working Black men
Just
out there.
yes.
That are there for their children. That always are getting looked
Yes.
over. You know what I'm saying? Because the
Yes.
light is
They're
always being shined
committed.
on us. The light's always being shined on us, the moms.
It is. They don't get that
You know,
recognition that they deserve.
They don't. So I'm definitely doing something for those, the original
Yes.
man next month. He has to have that love. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Has
So
to.
he has to. There's too many good daddies out there that just aren't
Okay.
getting the recognition. So yes, so it was great having you on. Like I said, and maybe we can have you
Thank
on
you.
again, do another building session,
Yes.
because this right here, this topic right here can go on and on for years, just like someone said,
Yes.
So maybe we can come on again and just keep building on this, and
Yeah.
someone can, they'll tune
Definitely.
in, and I just hope, and I know for sure that I have some mothers on my page because they came to me, and I hope you're
Yes.
watching, and I hope that you receive some type of insight and advice on what to do,
Yes.
because it's time today to get rid of those nocuous ways. Make amends
Yes.
with your daughters, make amends with your
Mm-hmm.
sons if it's your sons, make things right today. Today, not
Yes.
tomorrow, not 2 years from now. Make things
That.
right
Yes.
today with your children. If you know
Yes.
that you're not a good mom, become a good mom today. And the
Yes.
first step of becoming a good mom is talking to your child. Whether
Yes.
they're Okay.
All right.
All right, we back. I lost connection. We're having some bad weather where I am right now.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, let me turn off this phone right quick. I apologize, everyone. We're having bad weather where I am, and the connection just lost. It just went out. 1 second. Let me take this off real quick. How long was we out for? Like 3 minutes?
Yeah, I think just about.
That sucks. All right. Well, we're back. I apologize, you all. Like I said, we had bad connection and I lost it all the way. A wind blew and all of a sudden it was like lights out. Like, so I apologize. I apologize, everyone. But I'm back. And like I was saying, I'm gonna pick up where I was at so we can just kind of end this conversation before it happens again.
Right.
Like I said, I know that there's mothers on my page that are having the same issues that we're talking about, and because they came to me about it. So if you know that you are having those issues with self and you're taking it out on your child or your children, it's not too late today to make that right. It starts with accountability and communication.
Yes.
You know? So take that minute or that moment to talk to your child or your children. Like I said, it doesn't matter if they're 17, 7, or 37. Talk to them. Make it right today. You know, it's never too late. And when you're doing that, be genuine with it. Don't do it just because, oh, Fari said I need to go and make it right. Don't do it because of that. Do it because you want to do it and you know that it's the right thing to do.
Right.
You know, and that's my advice right now on, you know, what you would call this Mother's Day Eve, they would call it, you know, make it right now, you know, don't wait until you're on your deathbed. Don't wait, you know, or don't take it to the grave either. You know, don't do that's the worst you can do is take it to the grave.
Don't be prideful about it. Don't be prideful about it.
Right. Get it right today. Because your child, your grown child, your adolescent, your baby, they still need you. You know, they still need you. So, what is your advice you have to tell the people?
I mean, some of the same things. Like I said, I mean, don't be prideful. I mean, if you are a mother and you know that you have been experiencing some of the things that we talked about as far as the traumatics, you know, when you were younger, you know, seek help, you know, try to heal yourself so that you can heal your children, so that your children heal their children. You know, don't be prideful about it, you know, because it will grow resentment within yourself. And that you will pass on, you will continue to be that way. You need to seek healing for yourself so that you can heal your children, you know. And if you have similar situations going on, as far as, you know, being a child of abuse or being in that type of relationship, seek help for yourself as well, so that you can be the proper parent that you need to be. That way you can have a healthy relationship with your children, and your children can develop healthy relationships for themselves as well. You know, don't carry these things on and internalize these things, because they grow and they grow into dark seeds, you know. And like I said, we're talking about breaking the cycle. We need to break the cycle. It's not something that needs to continue to keep taking place. You know, it's a destruction of us as a people from within our homes, and we need to stop it.
And it's like the title says on this whole thing, that's that post-traumatic slave disorder or stress disorder, you know. But it's definitely something that is taking place from years ago that's just being passed on. You know, so we have to break it.
We do.
And the power is within us.
It is. We are capable of doing all things.
We're master of self. So do what needs to be done today, mothers out there.
Today.
You know, today. And happy Mother's Day.
Yes, happy Mother's Day.
the good mothers out there that are working hard, breaking sweat, to
Yes.
being a good mommy, being a good wife if you're married, being a good spouse,
Yes, and
just
breaking those
congratulations to
dysfunctional
you.
chains and breaking those chains, so that they can
Hmm.
continue to be the good mother that they are.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, there's an echo on my end. Let me see what's going on here. 1 second, y'all.
Right.
1 second, sister. And I'm back.
All right.
Oh. I'm telling you, thank you, Suave. The connection went out, so it kind of messed up everything. But we're about to end this now. And again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Yes. Peace
And
and
I'll
light.
see you all tomorrow. Okay? I'll see you tomorrow too.
Yes, ma'am. Peace, sister.
All right. Peace, peace, peace.
Peace.
All right.
It's the scoop with Fari. Go